Hey podcaster, I'm Tim Wahlberg, your podcast performance coach, with another actionable tip so you can sound like a pro and gain more podcast fans. Today's tip is how to deal with podcast burnout. Are you done with your podcast? Maybe it's taking up too much time and you didn't realize how much work it was going to be. Or that you're seeing nothing in the way of a return for all of your effort you've put in. Or maybe you've said all you can about your topic or niche, and now you're just bored. Maybe it is working for you. Maybe you've actually built an audience. You've gotten customers, clients, or sponsors out of it, but you can still suffer from burnout. Podcast burnout can happen to anyone at any time in their podcast journey. If you are suffering from burnout, you pretty much have three options in how to deal with it. You can take a break, you can change things up, or you can pull the pin and kill your podcast. Let's talk about these options. I actually have talked about taking a break before. If you need to take a break from your podcast, listen to episode 59. That will help. It's perfectly fine to take breaks, maybe over summer holidays or during the year-end Christmas break. These few weeks off can do wonders for your energy and perspective and can help you get the creative juices flowing again. Option 2, if you're suffering from podcast burnout, is to make some changes to your show. It might be time to pivot. Look at a new approach to your show. Maybe you start interviewing guests if you haven't done that before, or try some solo episodes. Remember, you've got a lot to say too. Have you ever hit the streets with a microphone before? How about a co-host? Change the music, rearrange the format or structure of your show. Just remember that if you're still talking to the same audience, make sure you continue to serve them and stay true to your promise. By the way, changing things up on your show is a lot easier if you have a show that's current or up to the minute, like news or tech. Your content is always changing, so the way you handle it can evolve too. Same with seasonal shows or series-based podcasts. Those natural breaks in your content allow you to recalibrate your podcast upon restarting your next run. But what if you've just got an ongoing podcast? Every day or every week or every 2 weeks, maybe you've already got 100, 200 or 500 episodes done, but it's getting a little harder to see yourself hit that next milestone because you've kind of just exhausted that topic. If you're still unsure about how a change is going to make things better for you and that you think you'll be in the same boat 10 episodes later, you may need a podcast coach to help you out. I know of one you can talk to. Or you need to consider your third option, pulling the pin and ending your podcast. You've probably imagined how life would be without your podcast, right? I mean, who hasn't? Can I get you anything, sir? Yeah. 2 more Shirley Temples, please. Thanks. It's a big decision to end your podcast, but that doesn't mean your podcast is irrelevant or all of a sudden useless. Hopefully, it's got a good shelf life and will continue to make people happy for years to come. Just like Christmas cake. So, if you're considering ending your podcast, keep these things in mind. In your last episode, make an announcement. Be honest with your listener. Explain what's happening and tell the truth. You're allowed to outgrow things. Think about when you quit that job you really liked. You know, that real job you had way back then? You didn't want to burn any bridges when you said goodbye, and you wanted a nice, clean break and tie up any loose ends. Do the same when ending your podcast. You still want to make your last episode great, so keep delivering on your promise right to the end. Remind your listener that they may not have heard every single episode you've ever published and that there are some great episodes from the past to discover. Maybe it's a highlight reel or a top 10 episode. If you know what you're going to do next, tease it. If you're going to start up another podcast, give them a hint of what to expect and when. The most important thing you want to make sure that you do is to tell your listener how to stay in touch with you. Make it your strongest call to action you've ever had. Your fans will follow. You can also publish a final episode, the air quotes, you're seeing that, right? Okay. Final episode months after you've stopped. Use that as an update for your existing listeners. Tell everyone where to find your new work and what they can expect. So if you're suffering from podcast burnout, just don't stop and ghost. There are a number of podcasters who have reinvented themselves and their podcast, and they've done it gracefully. It's possible. Whether it's time for a break, time for some changes, or retirement. Be honest with your listener and communicate. And I hope that's just the tip you need. If you are wavering or feeling stuck or have questions or are just kind of uninspired, let's talk. Together we can figure out if one of these options is right for you or something entirely different. Book a free call with me and let's get you excited again about your podcast or start figuring out your new hobby with all the time you'll have. Connect with me at podcastperformancecoach.com. I'm Tim Walberg. See ya!